The cage and the human. The ship drifted through the cold space, silent except for the hum of its engines. Inside the dark cargo bay, there was a cage, a strong metal cage that had seen many prisoners before. But this time, inside that cage, sat something different. She was not human, not fully. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes bright like twin stars, and her long hair shimmered like water. Her name was Lyra, once the princess of a world now conquered. But to the soldiers who captured her, she was not a princess. She was just a creature, a thing, an animal to be sold. Lyra sat quietly in her corner, her thin hands chained, her head bowed. She had stopped crying days ago. Her tears had dried into silence. Around her, the soldiers laughed and talked, calling her names. They threw food at her like she was a pet, every time she reached for it. They laughed louder, but then came the human. His name was Captain Reed, a man known for keeping to himself. He was a mechanic, not a soldier. He had been sent to fix the engines, nothing more. He didn't care about the prisoners, the wars, or the politics of empires. But that day, when he entered the cargo bay, something changed. He saw her, at first. He thought she was just another alien prisoner. But when her eyes met his, he froze. There was fear in her eyes, yes, but also something else. Pride, the kind of pride that doesn't die. No matter how much pain you give it. Who is she? Reed asked one of the guards. The man laughed. That thing. Just a royal pet from the Alaris system. Worth a fortune if sold alive. Reed frowned. She doesn't look like an animal. The guard shrugged. Then don't look too close, Captain, or you'll start feeling sorry for it. Reed didn't answer, but the words stayed in his mind. That night, when the ship went quiet, he came back. He told himself it was just to check the security systems. But deep down, he knew it was more. Lyra was awake, sitting in the shadows. When he walked closer, she flinched. Pulling the chains tight, he stopped and spoke softly. I'm not here to hurt you. For a moment, she said nothing, her lips trembling. Then, in a voice weak but proud, she said, Humans never come without reason. What do you want? Reed looked around, making sure no one else was there. I just want to know who you are, he said. Lyra raised her head slowly, her silver eyes glowing in the dim light. I was Lyra of Alaris, she said, daughter of the High Queen. Now a trophy of your kind. Reed felt something twist inside him. He had seen cruelty in war before, but never like this. He couldn't understand how anyone could look at her and see an animal. She was fragile, yes, but there was strength in her voice. And for the first time in a long time, he felt ashamed to be called human. Why do they keep you here? He asked. To break me, she said simply. To show that even the stars can kneel. Her words hit him harder than he expected. He wanted to say something, but the alarm lights flashed red. Someone was coming. Reed quickly stepped back, hiding behind the crates. Two guards entered, laughing, carrying electric rods. Lyra didn't move. Even when they opened the cage, one of them grabbed her arm roughly. Time for your lesson, princess, he sneered. Reed's fist tightened, but he couldn't move. He watched as they shocked her. Her body trembling, her jaw clenched so she wouldn't scream. After they left, Reed came out again. She was lying on the floor. Breathing hard, he knelt beside the cage, guilt burning inside him. I'll help you, he whispered. Her eyes opened weakly. Humans don't help slaves, she said. I'm not like them, he replied, his voice steady now. Then prove it, she whispered, before falling unconscious. That night, Reed couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her eyes, full of fire and sorrow. He knew helping her could mean death. The ship was under strict orders, and anyone who interfered with prisoners would be executed. But something inside him had already made the choice. When the morning came, he was no longer the same man. He looked at his reflection in the mirror and said quietly, No one should be treated like that. Not even an alien. He packed his tools, his heart heavy but sure. He was going to do something dangerous, something that could change both their lives. Outside, in the endless darkness of space, the stars seemed to watch silently, as if waiting to see what the human would do next. The escape and the bond. The ship moved through endless space, its engines whispering like ghosts. To everyone on board, it was just another day of travel, another mission, another prisoner. But to Captain Reed, everything had changed. All night, he thought about her. Lyra, the alien they called an animal. He couldn't forget her eyes, or her voice when she said, "Then prove it." Those words had carved themselves deep inside his mind. By morning, he had made his decision. He was going to set her free. He didn't know where or how, but he knew he couldn't stay silent anymore. Reed waited until the guards switched shifts. He walked down the long metal hallway, his boots echoing softly. He carried a small toolbox, his key to everything locked. When he reached the cargo bay, the lights were dim, the cameras half asleep. The air smelled of oil and dust, and behind the bars, Lyra still lay chained. She opened her eyes when she heard him. At first, she didn't believe it was him again. Humans never came twice, unless they wanted something. But Reed's eyes were calm, steady, almost kind. "Can you walk?" he whispered. Lyra frowned. "Why would you ask?" "Because we're leaving," he said. For a moment, she just stared at him. Then she laughed. Soft, bitter, tired. "Leaving? You don't understand, human. There's nowhere for me to go." Reed shook his head. "Then we'll find somewhere, together." He opened the cage slowly, his hands trembling as he bypassed the lock. Each beep of the tool sounded like thunder in his chest. When the door finally clicked open, Lyra didn't move. "Why?" she whispered. "Why risk your life for me?" Reed looked at her and said quietly, "Because you're not an animal. You're someone who deserves to live." Those words were simple, but to Lyra, they were more powerful than any weapon. No one had spoken to her like that since her world burned. For the first time in months, she felt something small but real. Hope. Reed helped her stand. Her legs shook. Her chains clattered softly. He caught her before she fell. Her skin was cold, her body weak, but her eyes glowed with life again. "Stay quiet," he whispered, guiding her toward the maintenance shaft. Every step was dangerous, every sound too loud. They moved through narrow corridors filled with shadows. Behind them, alarms blinked silently. The security systems were waking up. They reached the lower deck, where escape pods were stored. Reed quickly started the power sequence, but before the pod could open, the door behind them slammed shut. "Guards, Captain Reed!" shouted a voice. Reed turned slowly. 3 soldiers stood with blasters aimed at his chest. The leader sneered. "I knew you were soft, always staring at that thing like she mattered." Lyra stepped forward weakly. "Don't hurt him," she said. The guard laughed. "Oh, this is sweet. The pet speaks." Reed moved fast, too fast for them to react. He grabbed the nearest tool, a plasma wrench, and threw it into the lights. The room went dark, red alarms flashing everywhere. Shots fired, sparks flew. Lyra ducked as Reed pulled her toward the pod. He slammed the emergency release button, and the door hissed open. "Get in!" he shouted. Lyra hesitated. "You're coming too." "Of course I am," he said, grabbing the controls. The pod launched out of the ship, spinning wildly before stabilizing. Inside, Lyra clung to the seat, her heart racing. Outside, the stars blurred as they escaped into the black sea of space. For a while, there was only silence. Then Lyra looked at him and whispered, "You're insane." Reed smiled faintly. "Probably, but you're free." She didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so she did both. They drifted toward a nearby moon, a cold, quiet rock with a thin atmosphere. Reed managed to land the pod on a flat ridge, the metal scraping against the surface. When the door opened, cold air rushed in. They stepped out. Staring at the vast silver desert stretching under the stars, Lyra looked up at the sky, her voice soft. "It's beautiful." Reed nodded. "Freedom always is." They built a small fire using emergency supplies. Reed wrapped a thermal blanket around her shoulders. "Rest," he said. "I'll keep watch." But Lyra didn't close her eyes yet. She looked at him, this strange human who risked everything. "Why do you care so much?" she asked again. Reed stared into the flames. "Because if we stop caring, then we become what they say we are." She didn't answer, but inside, something changed. For the first time, she believed that maybe humans were more than monsters. As the night deepened, they heard distant sounds in the sky. Engines. Reed's face turned pale. "They're tracking the pod." Lyra stood up, her chain still hanging from her wrists. "Then we fight." Reed looked at her, surprised. "You can fight." Her eyes gleamed like silver fire. "I was a princess, not a pet." The engines grew louder. Shadows moved across the moon's surface. Reed picked up a plasma cutter, his hands shaking but ready. Beside him, Lyra raised her hands, glowing faintly with strange energy. The wind began to hum, the dust swirling around them. The soldiers thought they were hunting prey, but what they found on that lonely moon was something else. A man and a princess, standing side by side, not as master and slave, not as captor and captive, but as allies, and maybe, just maybe, as the beginning of something the universe had never seen before. The battle and the promise. The sky burned red as the enemy ships descended. Their lights cut through the dark like blades. Dust rose from the ground, wrapping Reed and Lyra in a silver storm. There was no more running, no more hiding. It was time to fight. Reed looked at her, this fragile being he once found in a cage. Now she stood tall beside him, her silver eyes glowing brighter than the stars. "Stay behind me," he said quickly, gripping the plasma cutter tight. Lyra shook her head, her voice calm but fierce. "No, Captain Reed, today we stand together." The soldiers landed in a storm of engines and metal. Their boots hit the ground. "Guns ready?" the leader shouted. "Surrender, both of you, or die where you stand." Reed took a step forward, his jaw tight. "You'll have to earn it." Blasters fired, red light tearing across the silver sand. Reed dove for cover, returning fire with everything he had. The plasma cutter was never meant as a weapon, but in his hands, it became one. Lyra closed her eyes, breathing deeply. Her body shimmered, the chains on her wrists glowing white-hot before melting away. The soldiers stopped firing for a second, staring in disbelief. Energy swirled around her like a storm of light. Her voice echoed, soft but powerful. "I am Lyra of Elaris, daughter of the High Queen, and I am no one's pet." The ground shook. The sky cracked with blue fire. The humans had taken her world, but they could not take her spirit. She raised her hands, and the air itself seemed to move. Waves of energy pushed the soldiers back, their armor sparking under invisible force. Reed watched in awe, barely able to stand against the wind she created. Her power was not just strength. It was sorrow. It was memory. It was every scream she had swallowed while chained. One by one, the soldiers fell back, their ships trembling in the force of her storm. But Lyra staggered, the light flickering around her. Reed ran to her side, catching her before she fell. "Stop! You'll kill yourself!" he shouted. She looked at him weakly. "If I stop, they'll take you. They'll take everything." Reed shook his head, holding her close. "Then let me fight with you," he said. "You don't have to do this alone." For the first time, she smiled. Small and real. "Then let's show them what a human and a princess can do," she whispered. Together they faced the remaining soldiers. Reed fired while Lyra directed her energy, each blast guided by her will. The battlefield became a dance of light and courage. Metal burned, the air shimmered, and their enemies began to retreat. Fear spread among them. fear of something they didn't understand, a human who defied orders, and an alien who refused to bow. When the last ship finally fled into the stars, the moon was silent again. Reed dropped his weapon, his chest rising and falling with exhaustion. Lyra collapsed beside him, her glow fading. He pulled her into his arms, his voice trembling. "You did it. We did it." She looked up at him with tired eyes. "I'm free now, aren't I?" Reed nodded. "Yes, and I'll make sure you stay that way." The dawn broke across the horizon. A new light spilled over the silver sands, soft and golden. For the first time since her capture, Lyra saw the sunrise without fear. It was not the sun of her world, but it was still beautiful. Days passed. Reed repaired the escape pod. Using what little parts remained, Lyra recovered slowly, her strength returning like a river after drought. They talked. They laughed sometimes. She taught him about her world, her people, and the songs they used to sing under two moons. He told her about Earth, about oceans, forests, and the smell of rain. One night, as they sat by the fire again, Lyra looked at him and said, "You could still return to your kind. They will forgive you if you say I forced you." Reed shook his head. "I've seen what my kind has done, and I won't go back." She smiled sadly. "Then what will you do, Captain Reed?" He looked at the stars. "I'll go where you go." Silence fell between them, not heavy, but peaceful. For once, there was no need for words. In the glow of the fire, Lyra whispered softly, "You saved me." Reed shook his head. "No, you saved yourself. I just gave you a chance." Her eyes glistened. "Then maybe that's what heroes do." He laughed quietly. "I'm no hero, princess." She smiled. "Then you are something rarer. A human who remembers how to be kind." Above them, the stars shifted. Somewhere out there, the Empire still hunted. But for now, on that quiet moon, there was peace. Two souls from different worlds. One who had lost everything, and one who had finally found something worth dying for. And as the night grew deep, Reed whispered, "If the universe ever forgets what it means to be human, it will remember you." Lyra closed her eyes, her voice soft like the wind. "And it will remember you too." The fire crackled, the stars watched, and the universe, vast and endless, kept their secrets safe, not as a story of war or revenge, but as a tale of hope, of a princess who found her freedom, and a human who found his heart.